Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I just finished watching episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obviously, full spoiler review, and okay, wow, okay, a lot of stuff happened. This is, I believe, the midpoint of the season, right? Or the series, I guess, if they're not going to do season 2. They might. Ewan McGregor has already said during Celebration that he'd be interested in coming back again, so I mean, hell, they could do a season 2 if they wanted to. There's probably nothing stopping them from doing that. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what exactly happened. And first of all, let's talk about some like lingering plot threads that they did or did not really touch. Okay, so the Grand Inquisitor, his supposed death from last episode. The only mention the Grand Inquisitor gets, okay, is really just that Reva talks to Darth Vader personally, and she's like, oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi will pay for what he did to the Grand Inquisitor. And Darth Vader's basically like, the Grand Inquisitor doesn't matter. I don't care about that. If you want his seat, then you better, work for me. And if you don't, then I'll just kill you, right? We need to go get Obi-Wan, because that's all he cares about, which makes sense. Like, that's totally in Darth Vader's character. Honestly, the Inquisitors are just a tool for him. They're just enforcers. He does not care about their squabbling and their like their whole like fight for second place. You know what I mean? Because that's really all the Inquisitors are doing. They're fighting for second place to be at Darth Vader's side, right? And we see that even the fifth brother and Reva are definitely like butting heads. The third sisters, or not the third sister, whoever the one, the yellow alien one, she's kind of just hanging out. You know what I mean? She doesn't really seem to be vying for power there. But definitely Reva and the fifth brother are like butting heads the entire time. So that's going to be interesting to see play out. And of course, look, the Grand Inquisitor is still alive somewhere, or at the very least, they're gonna find some way to bring him back or something, right? I know a lot of people were kind of concerned, like, oh, is Rebels retcon? No, it's not retcon, guys. Calm down. Especially if you've seen like all the Ahsoka stuff for the Ahsoka show coming out. It's very clear that no, Rebels still counts. It still happened. It's very concretely canon still. So don't freak out. The Grand Inquisitor is gonna come back. It's fine. Now, what I did think was gonna happen was that Reva was gonna blame Kenobi on his death, and that is seemingly what happened. I'm sure next episode or near the end, Grand Inquisitor is gonna end up coming back. We're gonna see him wake up, and then he's gonna tell everyone, hey, by the way, we had Kenobi cornered, and it was Reva who stabbed me instead of Kenobi. So she's kind of a traitor, and we should kill her. Anyways, so what happens with Kenobi is that they are on that transport, and he's talking to Qui-Gon. He's like, okay, so Anakin's alive, Vader's alive, and we see like the really cool sequence of Vader being put all back together with all the little robot hands piecing his parts together. He's trying to talk to Qui-Gon, which he hasn't been able to do yet, but we do see a bunch of audio from, we hear a bunch of audio clips from the past movies of Yoda and Anakin and all this other stuff. They make it to it's some kind of mining planet. I forget the name of it. I think it starts with an M, but it's some kind of mining planet, and that is where Kumail told them to go, right? And it was supposed to be like a safe place for Jedi. And so they have to go through all these like checkpoints, and they get this like shady driver to give them a ride. And it's actually a pretty cool sequence where Obi-Wan just uses a blaster to take out a bunch of stormtroopers and a probe. There's even this one stormtrooper who gets like cut in half from this like security fence they have. That was pretty cool. And they end up getting saved by what we thought was an Imperial officer, and somehow she was on the transport with all the stormtroopers. But I guess she used to be an Imperial. I don't really know exactly how that works. I don't know if she's still an Imperial and she just like does all this in secret. Somehow she was on the transport with the stormtroopers. But anyways, she takes them back to the village, and essentially what we learn is that they have basically the underground railroad for Jedi and other Force-sensitive beings. And we even get this cool sequence where like, oh, we see markings on the wall that a lot of them have made in the past, and Obi-Wan recognizes one of them to be Quinlan Vos, which that's really cool. Is Quinlan Vos going to show up in the show? I mean, it's possible. It's definitely more possible now. But they're trying to make their way to escape, and of course, Darth Vader's already here. He's already been informed. He's already showing up. It all happens really fast. So they don't manage to get out of there. He tries to send the lady and Leia to all right, get out of here. I'm gonna, I'll buy you time. I'm gonna go face Vader, right? And during this whole sequence, this is not the epic showdown that I know some people are waiting to happen. This is not Revenge of the Sith, 15-minute battle sequence. This is definitely like the Obi-Wan that we've seen so far, who he has not used the Force in 10 years. He has not had to lightsaber fight anybody in 10 years. This is definitely that guy, and he's he sees Vader. He's like, oh my God, what's happened to you? And Vader's just I'm what you made me, which is very true, right? At least mostly true. And really what we see is this sequence of Obi-Wan is basically running away from Vader, because remember, his goal is to buy time. His goal is not to face him down and try to kill him right then and there. He's trying to buy time for Leia to escape. So I know a lot of people are going to complain that Obi-Wan's running away, but you have to remember what he's actually trying to do in the scene. he's here to buy time. So anyways, he's basically running away from Vader and kind of giving him the chase around. But they do eventually have to face each other. Vader corners him, and there's this really cool sequence where Obi-Wan's clearly not holding his own, and you also have to remember Vader now, with all his mechanical parts, now he has 4 mechanical limbs and this whole suit on. He weighs easily 200 pounds more than he did when they last fought. So physically Obi-Wan's way outmatched. So not only has he been out of practice for a decade, he's the most outmatched physically person there, because it's oh my God, this guy's got 200 pounds on me with just mechanical limbs raining down those lightsaber blows. So it absolutely makes sense to me that Kenobi, you just gotta try and run, deflect what you can. You're not gonna win this fight now, you need to get back into shape before you can win this fight. But Vader ends up spilling all of this stuff. I guess it's the fuel. I guess this is the mining fuel that they mine there. He ends up spilling all the stuff on the floor, and then he lights it with his lightsaber into this fire, and he picks up Kenobi with the Force and drags him through the fire. And he's like, oh, you're gonna suffer like I did, right? And he's burning his arm. But of course the lady comes back and tries to save him. She hits one of the stormtroopers, explodes the fuel again, and they had this load lifter droid that carries Kenobi out of there. So they're basically trying to leave the planet while Leia's still running through the tunnel. Now, my other thing is that Vader's sitting there while the fuel's on fire, and I know some people are gonna say, well, couldn't Vader just push the fire out? Couldn't he chase down Kenobi? To be honest, I think he knows Kenobi's not going anywhere, because Reva has now found Leia in the tunnels, and she's killed the pilot who was going to take them to safety. So their way out of there is blocked. They don't have a way off this planet, and you have to remember the rest of the system, the rest of this planet has already been shut down. So there's not any ulterior motives of transportation, modes of transportation, I think. So yeah, I think that's really why Vader wasn't bothering to all right, let me force push the fire out here, let me try and grab Kenobi, and it's he's not going anywhere. He's just gonna chase him down, especially now. So it's Vader's kind of I'm gonna walk slowly, methodically. I'm gonna find him again. He's not leaving this planet, especially now that Reva's taken out the pilot that was supposed to take them to safety. So yeah, I think that's really why he wasn't bothering to chase him through the fire kind of thing. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything that happens. I mean, we do get a lot more sequences of Obi-Wan and Leia, and like kind of talking about like, oh, you knew my real mom, didn't you? You know, and a lot of people, you know, look, there's been a lot of discussion about canon, like, oh, Leia knows Obi-Wan, or Leia knows this and that. Leia does not know Obi-Wan's name. She knows Ben. His name is Ben. I don't think she even knows Kenobi. I don't think she's even heard Kenobi yet. She knows him as Ben, just Ben. In fact, a lot of people have pointed out that in A New Hope, there's this sequence where Luke's like, "I'm here with Ben Kenobi," and she's like, "Ben Kenobi," you know. So I don't know. Maybe she only knows him by that name, and so there's, I don't know. Some people are like, "Oh, the way she says Obi-Wan in A New Hope makes it seem like she doesn't know him," or it seems like a lot of like nitpicking, kind of reaching for straws ways of like, it doesn't really break any canon. It's just, I don't know. But yeah, Reva is definitely like, right now the only motivations we know of her is that, yeah, at least from Darth Vader, it seems like she wants to be the Grand Inquisitor, right? She wants to be number 2. But it feels like there's a lot more to it than that. You know, like her chase with Obi-Wan, her like trying to find him, seems a lot more personal. So I don't know, I'm still waiting on us to get more of that you know, Order 66 Padawan sequence, to be like, okay, so we're all pretty sure that was her in that sequence, you know, when they were all younglings, right? So what exactly happened there? Why is this chase so personal for her? So that's one thing, and of course we're still waiting for like the Grand Inquisitor to come back, because we know he will. It's okay. And yeah, just this, they're gonna find some way off this planet, because obviously if Obi-Wan tries to face him again on the same planet the same night, he's gonna lose, right? So they're gonna find some way to escape. You know, maybe they somehow make it past Reva in that cave, and then they're gonna have to take whatever the ship that pilot, the dead pilot, was gonna fly. But it definitely feels like Leia has been captured again, essentially, but this time personally by Reva. And Obi-Wan's gonna be taken to some kind of safe house where he heals up, and now he's gotta find a way off the planet, find a way to save Leia again. But this time, now Darth Vader's like personally on their trail. But yeah, I enjoyed the sequence a lot. I know some people are going to be like maybe nitpicking some of the dialogue and some of the delivery of it, and it, you know, it felt like a Star Wars comic book. That's what this felt like. You know, it felt like I was reading one of Charles Soule's Darth Vader comics, where he's like imagining this sequence playing out in his mind, which, by the way, if you read those comics, that happens all the time. Darth Vader's constantly like, oh man, if Obi-Wan was here, or if I did this, you know, he's like constantly having like all these nightmares and dreams. So yeah, anyways, I really enjoyed it. And I know some people are just wanting that showdown. They're wanting like Obi-Wan to like, all right, come on, do the whole Revenge of the Sith crazy lightsaber acrobatics and stuff. Like, he's not that guy right now, and I'm sure we're gonna get that showdown. You know, I'm sure like episode 5, episode 6, we're gonna like, Obi-Wan's gonna be like more back to who he was. He's gonna be more confident, because remember, in A New Hope, obviously that fight was not you know, the fight was the best that they could do at the time, you know, with who, you know, who was playing these characters in the moment. The fight was the best they could do. You know, there wasn't like a highly choreographed fight, but he was definitely like more confident. You know, he wasn't like running away from Vader. He was definitely like, all right, yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing here. He was in control of that situation, which, interestingly enough, he was also in that fight trying to buy time. Huh, interesting. Anyways, but yeah, probably episode 5, episode 6, we're gonna get like a much more confident Obi-Wan who's ready to face down Vader. And you know, I have to assume he'll win that fight, right? Because obviously he lives, or at the very least he'll be like able to disable Vader somehow and escape. Yeah, otherwise I enjoyed this episode. I really did. You know, we're at the halfway point. We have a whole half of a show to go, and we still have plenty of questions. Now, I do hope that, you know, pretty soon we start getting some of these answers, because you know, being halfway through it, it does feel like, okay, so what is Reva's whole motivation behind this? It can't just be to be the Grand Inquisitor, right? Like it feels so much more personal than that. You know, the fact that she's like really abrasive towards the other Inquisitors and not, you know, playing along with like the plan as a group, you know. So it feels like there's more to it and we just haven't quite been told yet. I mean, Darth Vader said like, oh, I know what you want, and then I don't know, he seemed to just imply that it was being the Grand Inquisitor, but I don't know, it just feels like there's more to it than that. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this. Are you mad that Obi-Wan is not like Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan, where he's fully confident and able to like throw down with Vader? Or does this make sense to you? Does this make sense? It's like, no, this guy hasn't done anything for a decade. He's been living in a desert, sleeping on a rock. He's not going to be able to fight Vader right now. Yeah, let me know how you feel. Let me know how you think. Let me know your theories. What's up with the Grand Inquisitor? Is he still on that loading dock? What happened to his body, by the way? Someone has his body somewhere. It's got to be in some Imperial transport where they're like, he's in a box and they think he's dead, and then he's gonna be like, I'm alive, you know. And there's gonna be something like that. I expect that to happen at least in the next 2 episodes, if not just next episode. So if anything, I think that's the good thing of this only being 6 episodes, is that like it feels like we're not gonna have to wait too long for these answers. You know, if this show was like 9 or 12 episodes or something, then they could like drag this out without giving us many answers for a while. But you know, it feels like now that we're halfway through it, now they're gonna have to start like producing some like, okay, so what is the deal with this? When is this happening? What's going on here? But yeah, I'm enjoying the show so far. I don't have, you know, a lot of people out there with like their, you know, dedication to canon fixations, I guess. I guess here's my thing. A lot of people seem to confuse, you know, retcons or breaking the canon, and then just, oh, this isn't how I imagined it, or this isn't how I always interpreted it, right? When it's like, it's only breaking canon if it's like something more literal than that, you know? Like if the movie actually said this is what happened, and then this other thing said no, it didn't happen like that, it actually happened like this, like that's a retcon, you know? But this whole thing where it's like, oh, Obi-Wan never left Tatooine, it's like, we're never told that. They never said that, you know? So there's little stuff like that where it's like people will insist that there's retcons and that there's continuity errors, when it's like, not really. Not like any kind of literal real world sense. If you look at it, it's like, oh, Reva isn't supposed to know who Anakin is. It's like, says who? Because in a comic book some other person got killed for knowing that why does that mean that she, you know, like, I'm sure there's some other explanation here. It's fine, you know, like it's not a continuity error just because someone else knows. Anyways, all right, going off on a tangent. All right, let me know how you guys think about this episode. Let me know how you feel. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.